there's competitors now ramping up. And
Yeah.
as you're familiar with BYD, which is also on the West Coast, I think they're ramping up production of their electric vehicles. Warren Buffett owns 10% stake in that. Why do you laugh? BYD is trying to compete. Why do you laugh?
Have you seen their car?
You know, BYD was once a joke, a complete laughing stock in the industry.
This plain-looking sedan is actually one of them. It's from Chinese automaker BYD. Bad-looking car. It sort of looks like a Corolla or maybe a Kia Optima.
Vehicles that are ready, that are up to snuff in terms of quality, fit and finish, design, that remains to be seen yet.
You don't see them at all as a competitor?
No, I don't think they have a great product.
In fact, if you look closely, while Tesla had Elon Musk, the visionary, charismatic billionaire founder, BYD was led by a humble man, a former government employee with no degree in automobile and no background in technology or design. In fact, he had never built a tech product in his life. And look at this, in 2021, while Tesla sold 930,000 cars, making $53 billion in revenue, BYD barely sold 590,000 cars, making only $32.75 billion. So $32 billion is a lot, but it was nothing as compared to Tesla and the reputation of Tesla. But you know what's crazy? Warren Buffett saw something different in BYD. He believed that BYD could make better cars than Tesla.
BYD is a young and promising company experiencing dynamic growth. A leader in innovation and technology. Our joint strength is based on high-tech cooperation, and BYD has a bright future.
And as always, the wise old man was right. Because in 2024, while Tesla made $97 billion, BYD stood tall at $108 billion. And BYD told the world loud and clear that there's a new gangster in town.
It likes to describe itself as
the biggest car brand you've never heard of.
now China's BYD has overtaken Tesla as the world's largest seller of electric vehicles.
Now it's beating Tesla with EVs only.
Let us help you build your dreams. BYD.
And this is a classic David versus Goliath story. So the question is, how did a government researcher outsmart the world's most celebrated innovator? How did a company that was once mocked become the new king of EVs in the world? What secret formula transformed BYD into Tesla's worst nightmare? And most importantly, what are the business lessons that we need to learn from the iconic rise of BYD? This video is brought to you by the magical Odoo manufacturing app. People, if you're in the manufacturing business, you know how crucial it is to streamline operations and maintain top-notch quality. And Odoo's manufacturing app is a magical tool that can simplify and streamline your entire process to make it faster, easier, and more efficient. Firstly, Odoo's manufacturing app triggers automatic quality checks, and it also provides you with the shop floor where each operator can sign in and see exactly what they need to do. This helps you manage who's doing what, keeps the work hierarchy clear, and allows you to run multiple assembly lines smoothly. By leveraging work centers and automated assembly lines, Odoo enables you to optimize and manage manufacturing orders effortlessly. This improves accuracy, productivity, and overall workflow efficiency. Odoo also has barcode integration, which helps you speed up operations, track products easily, and manage everything in real time. The planning and scheduling feature helps you organize work orders, track materials, and plan production efficiently. All of this happens through Gantt view. This view shows you all the assembly timelines and operation dependencies. Plus, the bills of materials overview provides a clear picture of cost, time, and component availability even before production begins. Odoo Manufacturing also provides in-depth reporting such as production analysis, production efficiency, work orders, etc. And the best part is, they provide lifetime free access for your first Odoo application. So if you're running a manufacturing business and you're serious about scaling with precision, efficiency, and clarity, check out Odoo Manufacturing app using the link in the description. This is a story that dates back to 1995. At that time, the global battery market was a game only meant for kings to play. If you wanted to enter this business, you at least needed $1.7 million. And the industry was ruled by giants, Japanese powerhouses like Sony and Sanyo. Now, most people would have said, "Arey bhai, this is a game for rich people. How can we middle class folks enter this game? Let's do something small and safe and be happy and earn bread for the family." But you know what Wang did? Wang made an observation. He noticed that the battery market was shifting very drastically from nickel-cadmium batteries to lithium-ion batteries. And this shift was happening for three major reasons. Firstly, lithium-ion batteries could store more energy. So while a lithium-ion battery could store up to 260 watt-hour per kg,
while nickel-cadmium batteries are limited to around 50 watt-hour per kg. This means for every kilogram of battery mass, a lithium-ion battery stores at least 5 times more energy.
That is why devices like smartphones started to use lithium-ion batteries so that they could be lightweight and yet super powerful. Secondly, nickel-cadmium batteries lose capacity over time if you recharge them before they are fully empty. But lithium-ion batteries, they could be charged anytime with no damage at all. And thirdly, cadmium, which is found in the nickel-cadmium batteries, it is a toxic heavy metal which pollutes soil, water and harms workers. Whereas if you look at lithium-ion, it is cleaner and far safer for the planet. Now you tell me guys, if you were to pour all the money that you have, where would you invest your money? Obviously in lithium-ion, right? After all, it was clearly the future. But you know what Wang did? He did the complete opposite. He invested all his money into building a nickel-cadmium factory. So the question is, why would he do that? Well, that was because while Sony and Sanyo moved to lithium-ion batteries, large companies like IBM still needed nickel-cadmium batteries. So Wang saw a hidden opportunity. He thought that he could actually serve clients that the large companies were ignoring. So he took a big loan from his cousin and invested all that money into building a factory to make nickel-cadmium batteries. But here's the twist. While Japanese factories used cutting-edge tech, Wang actually went the complete opposite way. He said, bro, Japanese have technology, but China has cheap labor. In fact, if you look at the stat in 1995, labor cost in Japan,
the monthly minimum wage was about $189.28, while in China, it was only $24.38.
So instead of expensive machines, Wang built simple systems that used workers' hands, but it was actually made by people with machines and not robots. And this ultra-frugal method became BYD's first superpower. And amongst all the frugal engineering strategies that Wang applied, I found one story that will blow your mind. In fact, it changed the destiny of BYD. You see, to make nickel-cadmium batteries, you needed absolutely dust-proof rooms because cadmium is a highly toxic and reactive heavy metal. So even a tiny particle of dust, moisture or oil can contaminate the electrodes, it could cause poor performance, and it could even defect the material. In fact, in some cases, it could even cause the battery to catch fire. In fact, workers must also wear full body suits with masks, gloves and hair covers so that even tiny skin flakes or breath moisture doesn't contact the battery. So to protect both the product and the workers, the manufacturing usually happened in super clean dust-proof rooms, also called clean rooms. On top of that, while normal air has around 35 million dust particles per cubic meter, a nickel-cadmium battery clean room might just allow 3,520 particles per cubic meter. That's over 99.99% cleaner air than usual. But you know what Wang did? He asked himself, Baba, if you don't want your legs to get dirty while walking, will you lay a carpet all around the world or simply choose to wear shoes? Obviously wear shoes, right? Then he thought, why do we keep the entire factory clean when only the battery cell needs a clean environment? So instead of building a huge clean room around the workers, he built a small, transparent, clean box. And here's where workers could put their hands inside and make the battery. So each worker had a sealed glove box like a mini clean room. And workers could insert their hands through the gloves, assemble the battery parts, and keep it within the enclosed box itself. This way, they could keep the dust out of the battery completely. At the same time, they didn't need clean rooms. In fact, the air inside was filtered and pressurized as per the clean room requirements. This is the reason why they could have a general room where the battery was being manufactured. And this gave Wang three incredible superpowers. Firstly, only the actual battery cell assembly zone needed protection, not the whole building. This saved them millions of dollars. So only the box was manufactured in a small clean room, but the manufacturing facility didn't need any high-tech cleaning. Secondly, the cost of making the battery due to this box and several other strategies helped him reduce cost by 70 to 80%. That's about 5 to 6 times lesser than the competition. And lastly, if Sony needed to scale their production, they needed to build another clean room with hundreds of crores in investment. But if BYD wanted to scale, they just needed to add more boxes and workers. That's it. In fact, Wang even decided to skip over high-tech machines and build simple machines like the glove box because the Chinese labor was cheaper than the machine. Like I said, in 1995,
the monthly minimum wage was about $189.28, while in China, it was only $24.38.
This is how, through ultra low-cost production, easily scalable model, and a huge cost benefit in the market, BYD started scaling. This is how BYD won giant clients like Nokia and Motorola. And by 2002, BYD had a 31% market share. That is how they made their money. Now, if you were a government employee turned entrepreneur who's making millions of dollars selling batteries, you would be happy, right? Well, Wang wasn't. While most people saw this business as a rock-solid $1 million company, Wang realized that he actually built a castle of sand that won't sustain long. Because he knew that he was making nickel-cadmium batteries and the world was soon going to move to lithium-ion batteries. So you know what Wang did? He said, we will build a car. And they did build a car, but the problem was that it was a terrible car. And you know what, guys? They built these kind of cars for 10 long years. And during the same time, Tesla rolled out great products, revolutionized the entire American EV market, and came to China and became a $1 billion company. But BYD? Well, they were a joke for the press.
Some journalists joked about how the front of the BYD car looked like a Toyota Corolla and the back looked like a Chevrolet Optra. Others were filming the doors of the cars not shutting correctly.
So long story short, BYD had no edge in technology, no edge in design, and they had nothing special. Their low-end models got old and their newer models failed to take off. Even their early electric buses in the US faced reports of poor performance, mechanical problems, and terrible driving ranges. And just when things couldn't get any worse, the pandemic hit in 2020. Now, when the pandemic hit, supply chains halted, people stopped buying cars, and BYD had over 224,000 employees that they couldn't afford to pay if sales didn't come. And look at this. Ford, Tata Motors, Jaguar Land Rover, Nissan, all of them were in losses. But I was surprised to know that BYD in 2020 still made $643 million in profits. The question is, how the hell is that even possible? Well, you know what, guys? I read something on cockroach entrepreneurs. It says that when everyone else is running for cover, the cockroach entrepreneur finds a crack and keeps moving. That's exactly what Wang did. He became a cockroach. During COVID, when cars couldn't be sold, Wang saw that they could easily manufacture masks and sell hand disinfectants. So he quickly repurposed their factories and became the world's largest mass producer of face masks. Not cars, but face masks.
On January 31st, Wang Chunfu, president and chairman of BYD, decided that the company must begin making masks within 2 weeks. These masks have been shipped to hospitals, law enforcement agencies, local governments, and many more.
That is how they made $643 million in profits even in 2020. This is how Wang survived the COVID wave while the world was making fun of BYD. But this still begs the question, how did they beat Tesla? Tesla was miles ahead of BYD, right? Well, as it turns out, Wang understood that to succeed in the EV market, he just needed to master 3 things: cost, R&D, and design. For example, Tesla had dramatically cut its cost per vehicle. Look at this. In 2017, it cost about $84,000 to build a Tesla. But in 2022, data showed that Tesla's input cost averaged just $36,000 per vehicle. That was about $10,000 less than the other average EV vehicles. And lastly, Wang realized that BYD cars needed to look better than Tesla, and they could no longer be a cheap copy of American cars. So after pouring all the profits from the battery unit into research and development, in 2020, BYD shocked Tesla with something called Blade battery. For those who don't know, in 2020, Tesla Model 3 used NMC batteries or nickel manganese cobalt batteries. And if you remember, these batteries had a big problem.
Tesla is investigating this fiery explosion in Shanghai. It appears to show a Model S bursting into flames in a parking lot.
The fire spread to the home and burned it down.
As you saw, if the cars with NMC batteries were severely damaged or exposed to extreme heat, they could catch fire or even explode. In fact, normal lithium-ion batteries burst into flames at over 500 degrees Celsius. But BYD's Blade battery uses lithium iron phosphate chemistry, and it passed a brutal test called the nail penetration test. As you can see, engineers literally drove a nail through the battery until it penetrates completely, causing a short circuit inside. And the other batteries caught fire at over 500 degrees Celsius. But surprisingly, BYD Blade gave out no smoke and no fire. In fact, it would barely touch temperatures of 30 to 60 degrees Celsius. Do you realize what that means? While a passenger in normal EV cars would burn to death in case of high impact accidents, with Blade battery, the car wouldn't catch fire at all. In fact, BYD batteries became so good that in 2024, Tesla started to buy batteries from BYD.
Tesla has admitted that BYD batteries are superior and will use them to power Tesla vehicles.
The Chinese company is about to start supplying Tesla with its own battery cells.
BYD's unit FinDream secured over 20% of orders in March, and supplies will begin in the first quarter of next year.
Secondly, BYD did an excellent job with cost cutting. Look at this. While BYD Seal cost $15,270 in China, Tesla Model 3, the counterpart of BYD Seal, cost $36,278.99 in China. And even in the US, while BYD Seal cost $46,990 with trade tariffs, Tesla without tariffs still cost $36,990. Secondly, while Tesla's prices start from $36,270 per vehicle in China, BYD starts at $7,800 in China. So the question over here is, how did BYD achieve this? Well, firstly, since BYD was a Chinese company made in China, sold in China, and had local battery production unit, BYD enjoyed an approximate $2,000 to $4,000 subsidy per car. Secondly, BYD achieved full vertical integration where they do everything from mining to manufacturing to design to battery manufacturing to even recycling in-house. This saved them another 15% in cost as compared to Tesla Model 3 and 30% lower than the Western companies. Thirdly, if you think about pure electric vehicles, you will see that people are usually concerned about two things: price and range. But you know what BYD did? BYD, instead of making EVs, they made PHEVs. For those who don't know, BEV means a fully electric vehicle that needs a battery to run. And PHEV is a hybrid vehicle where if your EV charging runs out, you can use your gas engine until the next charge. And by the way, PHEV stands for plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. And this is where the magic happened. You see, manufacturing a hybrid vehicle over a fully EV car had three major advantages. Firstly, the battery is usually the biggest cost driver and costs about 40% of the total cost of manufacturing. But in PHEV cars, you needed a smaller battery, so they cost around 20 to 30% less. Secondly, BYD could eliminate range anxiety in the Chinese because with hybrid, you can give people the cost advantage of an EV, but the dependability advantage of an IC engine car. So in Tier 2, Tier 3 China, where people don't find charging station, they were fine using a hybrid BYD car, but they couldn't use a Tesla. Thirdly, if you look at the Chinese population, China has four major categories. China 1 has 23 million people who make more than $18,000 per person per year. China 2 has 242 million people who make between $7,300 to $18,000 per person per year. China 3 has 493 million people who make $3,650 to $7,300 per person per year.
And China 4, the poorest population of 645 million people, make around $3,650 or less per year.
Now, while Tesla could only sell to 23 million people in China 1 and barely sell its Model 3 base model to China 2, BYD could sell its cars to China 1, China 2, and it could also sell its base models to China 3.
So BYD could practically sell to 758 million Chinese people and in tier 2, tier 3 cities with no charging infrastructure.
Whereas Tesla, they could barely sell to 265 million Chinese people.
Which is why if you look at this chart, out of the top 6 selling BEVs and PHEVs, 5 of them are BYD and just 1 is Tesla. And more importantly, the sale of the top 2 PHEVs is more than the sale of the top 3 EVs combined.
This is how Wang solved for cost and accessibility using R&D and product portfolio. And if you look at BYD designs today, they look like this. This is how, by first building a cash cow for himself, then by investing that cash into R&D while the world laughed at him, then by consistently working on the attributes that he was mocked for, and most importantly, by solving for the Chinese people better than his American counterparts, Wang ended up building one of the greatest companies in Chinese history. And he literally went from being a laughing stock to a multi-bagger stock in the last 20 years. This is the crazy story of BYD, and it has 3 very important business lessons for all of us. Lesson number 1. Before you start chasing glory, always build a cash cow. Before dreaming of cars and global fame, Wang first mastered the unglamorous business of batteries. That's where he got the money to build a castle of glory, because no glory comes without cash flow. Lesson number 2. Innovation isn't always about sophistication. Sometimes it's just about simplification. And the smartest solution is often the cheapest one that just works. And the clean box that Wang built is a classic depiction of this lesson. And lastly, always remember, when people throw bricks at you, you've got 2 choices. You can either run and blame the world for being unfair, or you can pick up every single brick, dust it off, and start building your castle. That's exactly how Wang built his company called Build Your Dreams. That's all from my side for today, guys. If you learned something valuable, please make sure to hit the like button in order to make YouTube happy. And for more such insightful business and political case studies, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.